Hey everyone, it's Peter Kerr from Daydream Nation, and today I have got the return of the legendary Mark Farner. How are you, Mark?
Great, Peter. Good to be back with you.
Fantastic. Mark has a new album coming out on November 8, I believe, called Closer to Home.
Close, closer to my home.
Closer to My Home. Sorry about that. Correction. And this is the first album, studio album since 2006 for the people.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Been a long time coming.
Absolutely. And a follow-up to your wonderful live album from last year, the Rock and Roll Soul, which was the Woodstock album, which did really well. So describe what folks will get with this new album. What will they get out of this new album?
Well, it's got the re-record of I'm Your Captain, but the first go round we were tuned to the American standard A440, which it has been the American standard for tuning since 1953. Prior to A440, it was A432. Count backwards from four. A432 is compatible with the universe. A440 isn't. We did, however, take the original rhythm track, which, by the way, back then there was no click track. And now everybody uses a click track. And you don't even have to have a drummer in there right away. I mean, you can just play your music to the click track, but it's a damn click track, brother. It's just a mechanical thing. So I wanted to capture what happens with a drummer. He gets excited. A part coming up, he speeds it up, and then it's when it flows back down into the groove. He kind of slows it back down. So a friend of ours in California, Josh, took time and made a tempo map, and we recorded this song to the exact tempo map of the original song, which was Don Brewer all over the place in time. But it's human. That's what we
Yes.
do. We're not machines, brother. So that's I'm excited for people to hear this in 432 because I've been playing on stage in 432 for the last 15 years.
Yes.
So yeah, and I sing better in
Mm.
432. I think people just allow it to come in, and it's such a minute difference in hearing. If you hit them two notes at A440 and A432 at the same time, you're going to go whoa, whoa. But to play them and then play one back to the other one, you could hardly tell any difference. So it's that minute. But man, a big difference, especially playing acoustic guitar, which I start the song with acoustic guitar. And the rest of the songs, everything's in 432. But these are songs that I had one started from, it's got to be 15 years ago, Peter. But it was my son when he was quadriplegic and living here with us. He said, Dad, what is that song that you keep playing? You're working on some song out there. And I said, oh, it's I don't have a whole name for it because I don't have the whole thing put together. I'm just kind of assembling the parts. The it's in drop D, and I told him, I think I'm going to call it Anymore. He said, well, whatever you call it. He says, I'm telling you something. That song's a hit, and he just heard it he's in heaven now. God rest his soul. But It's on this album, and we're going to see if it's a hit. It's a forgiveness song anymore. It's all about forgiveness. And do you know, brother, this is the definition of love is forgiveness. If you think about it,
Yeah,
love,
absolutely.
it is proven out, it is worked out, it is wrought out in forgiveness. And when we learn that, man, we are learning life's lesson. And this music helps bring it along. There's some real heavy rockers. I'm talking about in song. I'm talking about you know I I didn't go along with. I had a bad feeling the whole time, brother, of this COVID horse pucky, and I never bought into it. I said they are pushing this crap too hard, and what they're doing to people, I see people reacting. They're using fear to control people's emotions, and they're using the armed forces saying, if you don't take this, then you're out of here. You know, I mean, they're using it. They're sorting people out with it, and I never went along with it. And uh, I'm still a denier. I will always be a denier of that because of the facts that I know and doctors that I have spoken with personally and other doctors that I have heard, on internet that prove out what I believed from the beginning. So there's a song, one specifically that deals with that, and it's a rocker. It's a really, you know, balls to the
Hmm.
wall rocker,
Yeah.
and I think people, there's a lot of songs that are these rocking songs that carry a foul message, and people they need to have some truth in the message of the song. So I'm bringing what I believe is going to set some people free. But the whole the whole key to freedom is knowing that you are the only one who can set yourself free.
Mm.
No one comes with a magic wand and, hey, you're free. No, somebody will bring a word to you. Somebody will bring some water for that seed that got planted. But it's ultimately us individually who allows ourselves this freedom. We deserve it. We got to put all the debt consciousness out of our minds. And this music will help you do that.
Well, hopefully it brings everyone together, no matter if they agree or disagree with your message. Hey, I'm interested to know that Mark Slaughter, who's well known to many with the band Slaughter, co-produced the album and co-wrote a song with you called Same Game. Can you tell us how the collaboration with Mark Slaughter eventuated?
Well, Mark and I did the rock and roll fantasy camp together in New York City. And Howard Stern asked David Fishoff, who is, he runs Fantasy Camp. He owns the whole thing. Great guy, David Fishoff. And David came to me and said, "Hey, Howard Stern just called, and he wants you to come over and play I'm Your Captain on his show." I said, "Well, who will I use for a band?" And he says, "Well, you can have this." It ended up being Kip Winger on bass, Sandy Gennaro from Joan Jett, the drummer from Joan Jett, on drums, Teddy Zigzag from Guns N' Roses on keyboards, Bruce Kulick on acoustic guitar, Mark Slaughter on second electric and vocals, and of course me on guitar. And we played and Slaughter was about 2 feet in front of me, and he was singing right towards me. It's a small studio, but we had such a great time, and it is available to see on YouTube. We had a great time recording it, and as I'm singing the harmony parts, first of all, when we started, everybody's got cans on. We got headphones on, right? But I was like, I need to get these things off. I'm out of touch with the band, so I just take them off, and now here we're jamming. Here we are. And so when Slaughter starts singing the harmony parts, am I in my cabin dreaming? He does a, am I in my cabin dreaming? He does a beautiful harmony. And I said, after we got done with it, I said, dude, you sang those parts like it was you in the recording. He says, man, I've heard that song so many times. I can't tell you. He said, I am so honored to be here and play this today. And he says, I'm going to send you some music I want you to listen to. So he sent me some of the stuff he had been working on himself. And it sounded fantastic. The production, the tone quality of everything, the balance of guitar, and, a lot of production ideas that were fresh. And and it would be fresh for me having Mark Slaughter. And, he's part native as well. And so in our spirits, we hook up together. And I told him, I just, like, I called him up and I said, dude, that music that you sent me, I said, it's rockin' music. I can feel that music. And I really appreciate, where are you doing that? Yeah, I said, are you doing that in Nashville? I thought he had that he took it to a studio. And he said, I'm doing this at my house in the studio. And I said, really? That's some great stuff. He said, I want to offer you an opportunity. He said, I would like to produce you. I said, yeah, please talk more. He said, I would love to produce you, man. He said, I think we could do something great together. And I said, I think you're right. Because the first thing is, if you respect somebody as much as we respect each other, and I love that man. I love him. He's my brother. And he feels the same way about me. And so that spirit coupled together, we're doing this positively. And it is for, like you said, people, we got to bring people together with good music. He, in the song, what does the heck is the song? Same Game. Yeah.
Same Game. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many others on my mind. But Same Game, when we started doing it, I did not have the second verse completely done. I was just, I was that far along with it. And he says, that's a great track, Mark. He said, as I'm standing there and I'm laying down the lead vocal, he said, how about, and he suggested, I said, yeah, man, that'll work. And I sang it in, and he says, oh man, how about, and I said, oh man, that is consummate. That is some good stuff you're coming up with. So him and I split the songwriters on this song because he made that much of a contribution to it, and then produced and made it rocking, man. I mean, when I play it for people, that song in particular reaches out and grabs hearts. It's like people that like to rock, they're gonna love Same Game.
Yeah. Was the whole album a long recording process, or it was fairly quick?
It was 2 years.
2 years, right. So a bit here and a bit there, progressively over 2 years.
Well, being that we are both still working musicians, it didn't always work out, Peter, that when I had time, he would have time. Because when I would have time, he was gone.
Yes.
Or when he'd have time, I was gone.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
And we did do some of the long distance stuff through sending stuff to Dropbox and files that I would cut here, like slide guitar. Um, I would cut the slide here because I had a nice tone for it, and using the Kemper, I have a Kemper stage, which is a German floor pedal. That really, I could set the tone without the with the amplifier and your slide guitar. Uh, it's difficult to get the high end sizzle out of it and make it calm. Uh, I finally found a box I can do that with in my rig back here. But we used the Kemper, and it was easy to send that to Dropbox, and he downloaded it right into the track on his digital audio workstation. So, and we did some of the vocals that way as well. But most of it, uh, vocally was done face to face. He did a lot of the background vocals, especially on Same Game and Anymore. Uh, and his vocal and my vocal blend so good. Um, Surveilling Us. There's a song Surveilling Us that his vocal is just magnificent. It is a second harmony, but he doubled it so there's two of him, one in each ear, and it's just so full. This vocal, our two voices just really complement one another, and it comes out on that song in particular. Uh, and it's not just my thoughts, because people that have heard this song, friends that I have played the music for, disc jockeys, people around the world that I trust their ears, I have played some of the stuff just to see the reaction, and they're going, "Oh my God, those vocal harmonies! Oh my God, that's So it's I am so excited, Peter, to have this finally done after the 2 years. It was well worth every minute that we've waited, but it's time.
Yes, it is. Finally we get a new solo album. Um, so you went back in time and revisited I'm Your Captain closer to home. In general, do you go back and listen to a lot of the Grand Funk albums, or are you a forward person, just move forward and what's done is done? Don't really listen to the old albums.
That's me right there. I am that. I never listen to the old album unless I'm putting a song in the set that has been requested over and over and over again, and I want to get it like they heard it. Because when I do stuff live, I want it to be like they're listening to the record again, Peter.
Yeah. So when you went back and listened to the track, did it bring back any memories of the time that you actually recorded it? Any anecdotes?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, uh, a lot of the bass lines um, were my bass lines to begin with.
Right.
It's what I heard when I was writing the song. And Mel, a lot of time he would say, "What are you hearing on this, Mark?" And I'd say, "I'm hearing do 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 bum bum do 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 bum bum do 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 do," And he go, "Oh yeah, man, I can hear that there." And then bow 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 bow, the some signature parts as I'm because now I'm playing bass on it. I'm putting the
Mm,
bass. I thought back, and I could see Melvin over there with his P bass that had the humbucker on it,
yep.
playing and doing it. Uh, of course, he's a great bass player. I don't compare myself to him as a bass player at all. He's got feel way beyond what I have, Phil. But I did as good as I could do, and it's not bad. It's not that. It's clearer because I don't have a P bass with a humbucker in it.
Yep.
I, I've got a Lakeland bass, and it's a plecked bass, so it's a beautiful instrument to play. I got it through Sweetwater, and
Mm,
a wonderful instrument. So I did enjoy visiting those bass parts again, but I listened to each part because he had little nuances that he would put in that he would go from one chord and walk you up to or down to the next chord in a way that was just magical. And so I wanted to do each one of those. And I was thinking about Melvin every time I'm doing the next part. I'm thinking, yeah, man, that was good, Mel. Oh, that was good, Melvin. Uh, I miss playing music, with
yes.
those guys because we made a lot of music to a lot of people. And seriously, there's only three people in the world that can make that noise. And we are all still alive.
Exactly. I can't
Uh,
tell you how many people since the last interview have messaged me or put comments on the interview that without you, there's no Grand Funk. It was just like a wall of noise. So it just doesn't abate, does it, Mark?
no, and I'm hoping that they wake up and come around and that there's some forgiveness and and that we can do the original Grand Funk while we're all still sucking air and satisfy the fans. Because I remember, Peter, when the Beatles broke up and I was going, oh man, I wanted to see those guys live. I really wanted to see the Fab Four live.
Mm,
That would have made my life back then, just. And so I understand because, Paul did stuff on his own, John did stuff on his own, they separated and did stuff on their own. But that's, you know, when they were together, that's the Beatles.
mm,
Just they never approached the same kind of dynamic, the same kind of anointing that was on that music. And there is, uh, when there's that kind of intention, uh, there's an anointing. It's like, Elvis had an anointing on him. The Beatles had an anointing on them. They look at the hearts, look at the ears, look at the people they touched around the world, man. I mean, ugh,
So,
uh,
Rock and Roll Hall of Fame shamelessly have ignored you guys, and but they seem to be coming around to a lot of the bands that they have ignored, like Foreigner, etc. Do you think that if your name, Grand Funk, is nominated, that is the route maybe to get the three of yous together on a stage and take it from there?
I would only be speculating.
Hypothetical.
Yes, hypothetically, but it'd be great. However, the um, the institution of that rock hall is political. It's you know it's controlled and contrived. It isn't a weight of okay, let's put this meter up there and have the people who love the music, let's have them applaud.
Mm,
They used to do that in some of the stuff. It's so the people are not weighing into it at all. It's just the folks that own, it's the money behind it. So it's never going to be totally honest when it's owned by, you know, people that are prejudiced.
yeah.
And
Because
So
the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was Jan Wenner, who was the Rolling Stone, and Rolling Stone hasn't ever been kind of favorable to you guys. Have you got a take on why? Because you guys are the people's band. Do you think, is there a particular reason why you want the critics band?
I think initially when Terry told us, Terry Knight, the first manager we had, he told us, I'm going to create a mystique around the band and I'm going to keep you guys away from interviews. He says, I'll fill them in on what they need to know. And, you know, Peter, I was 20 years old. I'm looking to somebody that I think maybe knows something about what we're about to do here. We were just innocent kids, but what it created was really a lot of the critics would slam us because they couldn't talk to us. They talked to Terry Knight and he'd be a real prick. Seriously, he would
Mm,
be nasty and say things, and he was just out of our character. He was, he was a misrepresentation of who the band was, and he always touted himself as being the mentor of, and having the opportunity to brag and blow stuff out of proportion and blow stuff up, make stuff up. Um, so that just enough of that, and the critics were over it, and we got slammed.
yeah,
But noise, this white noise or all this just crazy stuff, crazy talk. And I'm thinking, what the hell show were they at last night? They didn't report on those fans that were eating it up, loving us and showing us that love. They didn't say anything about that. All they did was slam us because they were unable to talk to us personally, and Terry Knight pissed him off.
yeah. Well, that doesn't help. Hey,
Yeah.
with I'm Your Captain, I love the orchestration towards the end. It's an epic song. I think it clicks in around 10 minutes, but it builds up, and it's got this wonderful orchestration. And there's a lot of wonderful orchestration bits in your music, like Loneliness. I love that song. It's got
Oh,
orchestration. Can you
yeah.
tell us, was that you that was the arranger of that, or tell us the machinations of the doing string orchestrations in Grand Funk?
Thank you for that question, Peter. That was my friend Tommy Baker, who was the band leader on the Upbeat show out of Cleveland, Ohio. Herman Spiro was the owner of the station, and his son David Spiro was ended up being vice president of the Rock Hall there, and a lifelong friend. But Tommy Baker, um, he first did "I'm Your Captain," you know, uh, and did a wonderful job on it. And we were at the station doing a show, and it was a regional television show. There was the upbeat dancers, and Herman would bring in people. There was James Brown was on the show the day that we were there. Mitch Ryder, Otis Redding, uh, Grant Funk, and I was playing, and I was showing David Spiro, who always ran around with a little 8 millimeter wind up film, camera shooting
Mm.
everybody. Uh, I was playing this music, and Tommy Baker came over and he says, "Is that the new song?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Oh man, I want to put that. I want to put that orchestra on there. I want you to uh, take that last refrain." He said, "And when you get to it," he said, "just do it over and over and over again." He said, "I want to build that up." He says, "You just keep playing it until you can't play it another time." And then he says, "And then give me 10 more bars." And I went, "Wow, dude. Okay." So when we got in the studio and we did it, I mean, there wasn't any orchestration. We didn't have any clue what was going to
Mm,
be brought in. But with the Cleveland Symphony and Tommy Baker's arrangement, he wrote all of that stuff. He also wrote the arrangement for Loneliness, and people love that song.
yes.
Yeah, and Tommy Baker was a musical genius. I don't know where he's at today. I don't even know if he's still sucking air, but I sure do. I sure do compliment and love when I hear it. Uh, there's nothing better. It fit perfect like a glove, brother.
Yeah. Out of all the Grand Funk albums, what one single album do you think defines the Grand Funk sound? So, say 200 years from now, and there's an encyclopedia, and somebody opens it up and they look at Grand Funk, and there's one album that defines the Grand Funk sound. What, in your opinion, would that album be?
Closer to home.
That's the one.
Yep.
And what about three Grand Funk songs that define the Grand Funk sound? And it could be like your favorites. What are your
Yeah.
favorite three Grand Funk songs?
Uh, Heartbreaker on the first album. Save the Land on E Pluribus Funk, and I'm Your Captain.
There you go. That I think that summarizes it pretty well. So Grand Funk are regarded as one of the premier live acts. Um, were there often times that you'd be there on stage with Don and Mel and just looking at each other and just thinking, this is surreal?
Yeah,
And being totally in awe of Don is pulling out something that you just, oh, I'm in shock. Can't believe.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's those moments like that. Um, they stay with you. Those are the ones, that make you want to get back together and go do that some more.
Is there any
Yeah.
particular concert that you might want to share?
Uh, the the concert we played for the troops in Schweinfurt, Germany. There was 10,000 U.S. troops and 30,000 German civilians out there. They put two flatbed trailers together, and that was the stage. There were three tanks out in front of us, and the target light on the barrel of the tank was the spotlight. So when I ran across the stage, the tank was zeroing in on me, and it was great because the GIs were loving hearing this sound, this massive sound, and we were rocking and loving on those guys. And the German, the audience was just engaging the music. Uh, it was, and after that show, I recall going with because Humble Pie was opening our show, and we would go out afterwards after playing a show. We'd go out to a pub and just sit there and have a beer. And Stevie Marriott and I would sit across the table from each other, and he's going 30 days in a hole, and I'm going, man, and I start singing, and we're doing the harmony together, and pretty soon we got the whole pub, everybody in the places around our table, and we're singing. Yeah, has some great memories, but that show in particular really stuck with me. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was phenomenal for me.
absolutely. I mean, you toured with a lot of great bands, Black Oak, Blue Oyster Cult. Was there a lot of camaraderie with the bands? I mean, you just mentioned Humble Pie. Was there a lot of camaraderie amongst the bands, or it was ultra competitive?
No, it was not not with Humble Pie. Of course, that was Frampton was lead guitar.
Mm,
Mary, it was rhythm guitar, and they knew it, uh, and they played it that way. It was great. Uh, Any riff was non-evident if there was a riff in the band. But yeah, we Jethro Tull, uh, we loved hanging out with Ian and with the Jefferson Airplane. We put in uh, Santana. Uh, you know, we did with Joan Jett in the Blackhearts. We did some baseball uh, stadiums in Puerto Rico,
right.
and on the way back, we went to a jazz club and listened to some music after our show. And on our way back to the hotel, I looked down as we're driving in this van, and we got a driver there. And I looked down. I said, "Hey, stop the van! That, that's Joan Jett's guys laying in that ditch right there." I don't know if somebody slipped them a Mickey or maybe they just had too much, but we scooped them up, brought them back to the hotel with us, and made sure they were safe. And Joan just really appreciated that we took care of her guys for her. You know that's
Lifesaver. You're a lifesaver. Could have ended up in a different direction, that one.
yeah.
Mark, there are multiple YouTube channels that just analyze Grand Funk albums. Do you ever watch them? Because I was just researching and just there's so many YouTube shows and clips talking about folks like me, just talking about your band. Do you ever watch them?
Well, the ones that people have sent me, I've watched,
Mm,
and the reaction, people that are giving their reaction to hearing Grand Funk for the first time. They'd never, heard the band, and then the one song that they listened to, the one clip was, I think it was Playboy After Dark, and we did Inside Looking Out, and it was live. And but we were jamming, we were rocking, and I thought it was a decent mix for television. And we used our full size amplifiers. We just turned them down a little bit. uh, but some of the reactions, people just, man, they couldn't believe it, and the way the things that they analyzed it and picked it apart and said, yeah, this is why it was. And listen, did you see that? Or did you hear this here? And I thought, wow, this is really good that these people who have never even heard of the band before are reacting like this. This is great.
yeah,
Uh, but I've only, I don't go looking for stuff like that because most of the time I'm so busy. I'm busier than a one-eyed cat watching two rat holes on either side of the room.
yeah, absolutely. So, are you going to put a band together and tour America? I know you've got two dates coming up this year,
Yeah.
but beyond, maybe in 2025, you might get a band out and hit the road.
Yes, I've got a good band right now, good players, and they are serious. Uh, they don't. I never have a problem with my players. I'm
Mm,
never embarrassed by my players, uh, and they put in their time on the chops. And that's the thing for me. Like I said before, I want to reproduce that record when the way the people heard it. I want it to come off that way live. So, uh, the drummer that I'm using, Hubert Crawford, I met him. He was a drummer for James Brown. and we did a show in Montgomery, Alabama, I believe it was, a street festival. Excuse me. And was James Brown, War, and Grand Funk. Uh, War went on first, Grand Funk went on second, and then James Brown closed the show. And I watched this drummer, Hubert Crawford, and I went, "Oh my God, that guy is a monster." Now uh, he's drumming for me. I tell people I stole him from James Brown, you know. And the bass player, Paul Randolph, I met him when I was recording with Alice Cooper in Detroit at the Rust Belt Studios here a few years ago when he did the Breadcrumbs album. And I had never heard of Paul Randolph before, but man, the job he did playing bass on that session, I couldn't forget it. And when we went in to do the background vocals for that record, I'm in this vocal booth with Paul, and he's up here, he's a big guy. And the producer, Bob Ezrin, says, "Paul, I want you to sing this part, blah, blah, blah." And so Paul said, "Okay, I got that." And Paul, he's a big guy, but he sunk the highest notes. And I'm thinking, that dude can sing. Are you kidding me? That boy can really sing. And then so I talked to him after the session, and I said, "Hey, it just so happens I'm kind of looking for a bass player because the guy that has been with me for all these years is getting into he's like a school teacher, and he's becoming really involved in public schools there in Jacksonville, Florida." And he says, "You know something?" He said, "My dad was in the service and he was stationed in Germany." And he says that every time we got in that car, he was slapping an 8-track of Grand Funk in there. And he says, "I probably know all the songs that you want to do." He says, "I probably know them by heart already." And I went, "Oh my God, is this any good?" So Paul Randolph on bass he's
He's the
great.
man.
Yes, and he's a sweetheart. All my guys are very courteous. We open doors for women. I mean, we take care of older people. I'm 76, but I see people that need help, brother. I give them help. Yeah, and Mark Hoyt, who is on the keyboards, he's from Florida. He's from St. Augustine, and he has been out with numerous acts. Wonderful keyboardist, and he uses a Leslie on a B3 organ, uh, which is a trademark sound for all my Grand Funk stuff. When I played foot stomping music, or when I played, Freedom is for Children, when I played any kind of organ, I used a B3 with Leslie's tone cabinets. And so it's being reproduced like that on stage, and I love it. And all my guys sing, Peter, and that is something that is hard to come up. I mean, you get a lot of great musicians, but they don't sing. But all
Mm,
my guys sing. All my guys can sing lead,
mm,
and to have them backing me up is like, huh, thank you, Lord.
yeah. You've still got a great vocal range. Is there any tricks that you do to look after your voice? Like you don't talk to anyone, like maybe 4 hours before a gig, or is there any tricks that you do to retain that voice?
No, it's I use it like I'm here on the farm. If I go back and I'm going to cut some wood, I'm singing in the woods.
So just
Uh,
keeping in practice.
yeah, yeah. It's exercised by reason of use. So I use it. Uh, Singing in the barns. You know, I used to, back when I had my farm downstate, I'd be cutting hay, and the roar of the tractor, at 2,800 RPMs. It's just, and I start thinking that that's a tone. It's generating a tone. So I'm thinking of a song. I start writing. Oh my God! Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I stop the tractor. I run over to the garage. I get the paper and pen, and I write down that first verse. I go back to the tractor, go around and around. Oh, I got a second verse. I use it a lot, and not just in the shower. I use it, wherever I'm at. I love it when people, like if you're in the club and in the airlines, uh, and some of the help is singing a little bit. Oh man, I go over and hang out around them because they're having a great time, and I love to hear people sing. Their heart comes out of them, and there's some great people, man, great singers that have never been heard,
Yeah,
public.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. What's on your wish list? If you had a wish list of people that you'd like to collaborate, say, for your next project, who would be at the top of your list?
I I always liked the Hall and Oates stuff. I don't know who did what. I just like the sound of that, and I always thought it would be cool to write with somebody that you really are fond of, that you found something in you know their production or something. Because I'm a dancer, I love when people make music that makes me want to dance. I love to dance. I'm very excitable,
Mm,
by certain music, and I love to dance. It's an expression uh, that I have been blessed to be able to get past. And my mother, God rest her soul, helped me get through it. She taught my older sister Diane and I to dance, and Diane and I would go out and dance and win dance contests because we danced together. We did coordinated stuff,
mm,
But as far as writing with somebody, uh, I I'm at a place where uh, I know what the combination to freedom is, personal freedom, and that we are the only ones, you know, that who's it, Bob Marley, you know, he said something. It was very eloquent, but it's the same thing as I believe that because
mm,
when I died, I in 2012 I died, um, and I came back into my body. But while I was gone, I was shown that debt consciousness is it's the plague of mankind, not just monetary debt for sure, but being indebted to anyone for any reason should never be allowed, ever. But we are in control of that. We are not taught this, but that part of, getting free has everything to do with what we've allowed ourselves to become indebted to or by.
mm. Two more questions. So you're doing a song set for your tour, a couple of dates. How difficult must be to whittle all this wonderful work into a 10 or 12 song list? Does that really cause you a bit of stress sometimes? What are you going to leave in? What are you going to leave out?
Exactly. Yes. Uh, but with the advantage of having, you know, a voice on the internet, we say, hey, send us two songs that you would like us to have in the set. Name your two songs. And then we can take 2,500 people that respond and go, all right, we can build a, and it just so happens that a lot of that stuff is the early funk stuff, the
Mm,
stuff that I wrote, and uh, of course, American Band is going to be in there, or
that's rusted on, isn't it? You can't leave
some
that out.
people, Locomotion. Yeah,
Mm.
it's going to be in there, but the ones that people really want to hear, yeah, it comes down to, we do have a list, and once in a while we'll just throw one in.
Throw a
There,
curly one, something that hasn't been heard for a while.
yes,
Surprise
absolutely,
everyone.
yes, yep. That makes it fun. Makes
It,
it fun for us too.
absolutely. Now, I asked you this last time, and I'm sure we'll talk again, but I'm going to ask again. When are you going to come to Australia? Because we've never had the pleasure of seeing you or your band. You've got to come down one day. Is
I
there
would.
any possibility that you'll be touring outside the States next year, maybe?
Um, I don't know. I hope. My agency, TKO. Of course, we went to South America here last year, um, and did some dates in Peru and in Chile, and had a great time. And we played in Mexico before that. The Mexican people love my music. I love my Mexican brothers and sisters. It's just a great bunch of people.
Do you see a
And
cross generation of fans, like old, young?
oh my God, yeah. Uh, I'm 76, brother. So there is people are from like 80s, in their 80s on down to young teenagers that love my music. And that's very inspirational. It it just shows you that that music, it has the ability to close the gaps and to bring us together, bring us together. There's love in there. And I think uh, as long as I dedicate myself to love and I serve no other master, that music is going to serve people in the same manner year after year. I would love to come to Australia.
That'd be
I heard
fantastic.
stuff about the Australian people,
Yeah.
and I think they could use a dose of Mark Farner live.
Well, yeah, I think you told me you were almost going to come to Australia in the 80s, was that? I think we spoke offline maybe last time,
Yes.
but didn't quite make it down. I think you were in a show in Hong Kong or something.
Yep. I was in Hong Kong, and Australia was going to be our next stop. But I was doing some guitar clinics for
Mm,
PV,
yep.
uh, Music Corporation. And my manager died. Andy Cavalieri died in New York City. And I had to zoom home, uh, you know, for his family and the funeral and everything that goes down when somebody graduates.
Yeah, I understand. Well, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you back on the show. And look, I'm sure we'll talk again. It's just a wonderful guest to talk to you and just tales of the new album and tales from the past about Grand Funk. And I'm always following what you're doing. So wonderful to have you on. And thank you very much for being on the show.
It has been my pleasure, brother. Anytime you want to talk to me, give a holler. I love talking to you. Love your heart for rock and roll, and I love how you are just so easy to talk to.
Makes it easy when you've got a good guest. Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Mark. And that's Rock Daydream Nation.
All right. God bless. Bye for now.